Before I give y'all my thoughts, let me go ahead and check my audio real quick. Let me see. Check my audio real quick. Alright, audio sounding good. So I watched the Saints versus the Rams game. That was a real crazy game. Um at the start of the game I definitely thought the Saints were going to win, but they had a few just well, not really bad plays. It's just the Rams were playing such great defense, and with their lack of receivers outside of uh, I'm trying to think of his name, Mike Thomas, they couldn't really get anything going deep. Um, they got Kamara going, but his routes were a bunch of short routes. But he did have 96 yards. Um, Ted Ginn had one big catch for 43 yards, but he only had 3 receptions for 58 yards. And then Michael Thomas, their go-to primary receiver, he had in his game, in his standards, he had a very bad game. He only had 4 receptions, 36 yards, and his longest ball was 19 yards, which isn't very good at all. The Saints did have a few fumbles, but they did recover them. Drew Brees had a okay game, 26 completions, 40 attempts, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had a QBR of 60. They didn't really get the running game going. I'm just looking at these stats. You'll be surprised that they put up 23 points against this Rams team. They did have one interception early, but just looking at the stats, it's hard to see how they put up 23 points. On the other hand, Jared Goff had 25 completions, 40 attempts, 297 yards, 75 QBR, 75.1 QBR. They didn't really get the run game going either. But Brandon Cooks did have 7 receptions for 107 yards. Reynolds had 4 receptions for 74 yards. They started up slow to begin the game. If you just look at the first half, it wasn't looking too good for the Rams. But as the game went along, they kind of started to get their groove, and that defense was just playing lights out. Just to put it in perspective, the game was 13-0 in the first quarter, and then the Rams defense held the Saints to 0 points, and the Rams scored 10 points in the second quarter. The Rams and the Saints scored 7 points apiece in the third, but in the fourth they held the Saints to 3 points, and the Rams managed to get 2 big field goals, and then Drew Brees couldn't get anything going in overtime, and that led to the Rams getting the ball back and kicking that big field goal to win the game. But even still, a lot of the Saints' offense was field goals in that first quarter. They had 2 field goals early, and then they had a 5-yard pass from Drew Brees to Garrett Griffin. And then the Rams got going. They had a touchdown run from Gurley, and then they had a kick from Greg Zerling in the third quarter. Taysom Hill had a big touchdown from Drew Brees, and then the Rams came back and scored, had a big touchdown from Jared Goff to Higbee. Then in that fourth quarter, Rams kicked another field goal. It's 20-20. Then Will Lutz kicked a field goal for the Saints, so it was 23-20. Rams came back, kicked another field goal to tie it. Then overtime, the Rams came back and won it. I believe the Saints were supposed to win that game. You did have the pass interference call, which is definitely a big blow to the Saints, but they still had plenty of opportunities to win that game. After the pass interference call, I believe there was like second down, and they did really bad on managing the clock. I think they did. The first play was a pass, which was the pass interference, and the second play was also a pass. Um, so instead of doing that, what they should have did is try to run the ball and try to drain some of that clock, but they didn't, and the Rams wound up winning that game. Then I just finished watching the Patriots Chiefs game, and that was another crazy game. Tom Brady came down and did what he normally does, which is lead his team to the Super Bowl with the game-winning drive. But Patrick Mahomes had a big game himself. The Chiefs did allow the Patriots to put up 37 points, but they did make some big plays as well. They had the interception, which was called back because somebody was offsides, which you can't have that happening against the Patriots. But the Chiefs defense, they had plenty of opportunities to win that game. It just a lot of their big plays were taken back because of offsides or a holding call or roughing the passer, which they had one on Brady that was questionable. And then the Patriots also got away with some tough calls. They had a bunch of catches from Chris Hogan. Well, one in particular where he caught it, and he could have went either way. He could have went as a drop or a catch, but it wound up going as a catch, and definitely changed the momentum. Well, not changed the momentum, but kind of carried the momentum into the Patriots' favor a little bit more. But just looking at the stats, Brady had 30 completions for 46 attempts, one touchdown, 2 interceptions, had a QB rating of 77.1. They did have the running game going. Sony Michel had 29 carries for 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Burkhead had 12 carries, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a big game-winning touchdown at the end in overtime. Edelman, I don't know how he does it. To me, he's not the quickest receiver, but somehow he always has a bit of space on the defender. He wound up with 7 receptions, 96 yards. Gronk is basically playing on one leg. He's always injured. He's slowing down. He's definitely not the same Gronk, but he had a bunch of big plays as well. He had 6 receptions for 79 yards. And James White, Chris Hogan pitched in a little bit as well. Looking at the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes in his first AFC championship game, he was 16 for 31, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, and had a QBR of 117, which isn't bad, but he couldn't really get the run game going. Only had 10 carries from Williams for 30 yards. Sammy Watkins had 4 receptions, 114 yards. And then Williams had 5 receptions for 66 yards. Tyreek Hill only had 1 reception for 42 yards. But they did have 2 big interceptions from the defense. They just couldn't get that last push, that last stop from the defense to finish the game. At the end, Brady just was picking them apart. The run game was going, the pass game was going, and everything just was going too well for the Patriots. Let me go ahead and check my audio one more time. Alright, audio is good. But all in all, they were both very good games, and I'm definitely looking forward to that Patriots Rams Super Bowl. To me, the Rams have the better team, but the Patriots have the better quarterback, and I don't know if they have the better coach. You might can say, if you have to pick, you might say Bill Belichick, and you pick him over Sean McVay by a few inches, but it's definitely close. Every other position besides quarterback, I definitely think the Rams have the upper hand. And if I had to bet money on it, I'd pick the Rams. But Patriots being the Patriots, they're gonna come up with some type of game plan to where they're gonna have themselves in the game, and it's gonna be really, really close. But definitely can't wait to see that 2 weeks from now. And I was looking at ESPN, and I saw that Isaiah Stewart committed to Washinton. I've been watching him a while. He's one of those power forwards who can do pretty much everything you need a power forward to do. He can rebound, he can score in the paint. He's strong. He can jump out the gym, block shots. Plays really well above the rim. He's a beast on the offensive boards as well. The only thing that he needs to work on is maybe just polish up his offensive game a little bit. But I could definitely see him with his talent, definitely being a beast in college and averaging a double-double just off of his athleticism. And of course, with him being in college, he's going to develop a little bit and become a better player. So definitely excited to see that. But it was a real good day in sports. Real good day in sports.